former attendant to the living god king of artificers and wizards, the Psyjic Outcast manipulates the fabric of time and space in order to crush enemies as she seeks a solution to the prophecy regarding the Eye of Magnus. For news updates on my live streams and other things, check out twitter.com/Zarek. And remember, this series is Patreon funded, so donate if you are so inclined. The Psyjic Outcast begins the game with Psyjic robes that are as powerful as the Archmage Robes. These are the only robes she will ever use. She begins the game with an ability known as Kinetic Shift. When fired, she will go to the location the projectile lands. Both at her source and her destination, a shockwave will be created that will knock down any nearby enemies. By teleporting around quickly, she can suppress enemies that would otherwise be impossible for her to deal with without armor. Note that initiating a kinetic shift does cost a little bit of her health. Her next ability is known as Load Sphere. Summoning a Load Sphere costs a decent amount of magicka, but it will create a sphere that has almost no practical weight, but is 2,000 pounds dense. This Load Sphere can be used in conjunction with Telekinesis to kill enemies. Standard combat means initiating with a Kinetic Shift. This will knock down all enemies. Then conjuring a Load Sphere, she's able to use Telekinesis to kill the enemy with it. The Load Sphere will also intercept things like arrows and whatnot, and acts as a very good shield for as long as you have the magicka to maintain it. As your alteration skill increases, the amount of magicka required for Telekinesis will go down until Telekinesis is free at 100 skill. As a Psyjic Outcast, barriers that would prove impossible for other characters are very simple to get through. In the event a Load Sphere is not practical due to its size, you can simply drop weapons, shields, armor, and pretty much everything else on the ground. With the type of gravitational forces she's working with, even a scroll can be deadly. Although obviously the heavier the better. Some enemies may take multiple hits in order to kill. Others you may want to use more mundane objects for a comical effect. She will use Telekinesis until the endgame when she gains the powers of the Magna G. When this occurs, everything will change. The Psyjic Outcast is first and foremost antisocial. Basic politics, the Civil War, these are the types of things that the Psyjic Outcast wants to avoid at all costs. By necessity, she will enroll in the college, and she will speak to the various court wizards around Skyrim. However, she has no desire to speak to the Jarls themselves unless it is absolutely necessary for her given task. Although she would like to avoid trouble at all times, she finds herself an explorer by nature, and being overly inquisitive will lead her to trouble whether she likes it or not. The compulsion to explore and learn more will override her reason in most situations. For the most part, she seeks out the path of least resistance in life. That means, in many cases, upholding the law can be very inconveniencing. Likewise, being caught breaking the law, it can be equally inconveniencing. So she tries to strike a balance where she's neither caught breaking the law, nor does she go out of her way to uphold the law. As a student of magic, she will go out of her way to collect and learn as many spell tomes as she can, even if they're from schools of magic she won't particularly use. At the end of the day, she believes in training her mind in all things possible, even when her actual specialties are well known to her. This means that while in actual combat conditions, she will go out of her way to use alteration, she will not hesitate to train herself in destruction or conjuration when the opportunity arises. And when discussing Nord customs and other things, her thoughts tend to gravitate elsewhere at the time. The result is that she appears to many people to be an empty-headed daydreamer, when in reality her mind simply realigns itself to the more important things, seeing politics or cultural customs as something completely unimportant. In order to speed through and/or completely end conversations, she may say insensitive things that are nevertheless true, just for the sake of getting the conversation done with. Until she's gained higher level mage armor spells, she will require someone to tank for her. However, the very method by which she uses to kill people means that her followers will most likely die. As a result, she will use conjuration from time to time when it's necessary to summon minions of any sort, rather than risk bringing people who would otherwise die. Although it is unlikely she would use a follower in the long run, she prefers magic users over non-magic users. She prefers dark elves over non-dark elves. However, she would gladly take a non-dark elf magic user over a non-magic user dark elf, as she finds herself completely unable to relate to the customs of the Nords. She would never join the Companions. Likewise, the Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild are not within her sphere of ideas either, leaving only the College of Winterhold and the Dawn Guard. In the beginning, her first and only goal should be to become the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, thereby dealing with the Eye of Magnus, the problem that had started it all. After that, she should do the quest line for Spectroverse. Note that while choosing factions in Spectroverse, she should always use the light side, not the dark side. You'll know what I mean. Finally, she should complete both the Wheels of Lull and Dwemertek. Only when she's done with all of these great journeys should she put her eyes toward the main quest of Skyrim. Although she will get her hands on Ariel's bow, she will not join the Vogelhar vampires, and if she is ever infected with sanguine vampires, she will cure it straight away. Once all this has been accomplished, she will return to the College of Winterhold and her journey will be complete. The Psyjic Outcast was born in Morrowind, shortly after the ascension of the Tribunal to godhood. She was orphaned as a young girl, her parents killed in the confusion that resulted from everyone suddenly changing skin color. Although in time, the Tribunal would spin Azura's curse as a gift and a sign of religious rebirth, people's initial reactions to Dark Elves were not pleasant. Through a miracle, however, the young girl managed to cross the lands without starving, making her way to Vivec, the capital city of Vardenfell. The Tribunal Temple was only just forming at the time, and it was believed to better honor their living gods, the Dark Elf people should give unto the Tribunal various people who would live as servants to them. After a few years of training, the young Dark Elf girl would become Sotha Sil's personal attendant. Although he refused one, Amalexia insisted. And so years passed as she gave him food, water, and other things, and yet never in that time did he speak to her. But that is not to say that she learned nothing. In her time, he left manuscripts, spellbooks, tomes, all kinds of things just laying around for her to read. And so she learned the arts of mysticism and alteration, the manipulation of reality, the manipulation of oneself, the ability to transmute muscles, the secrets of magical longevity. Taking the proper magical precautions, she would have aged little over the next 1,000 years. And when Sotha Sil left Vardenfell to travel to the Isle of Artaeum, he brought her with him, not to serve as an attendant, but rather to study alongside the other mystics that he was training. And in being removed from the position of servant to which she had trained and spent hundreds upon hundreds of years acting in, she suddenly blossomed into her own. It turned out that she had a natural gift for telekinesis and teleportation. Things such as space and gravity had very little meaning to her. And that was her problem, he said, that she was mainly acting on instinct, using the skills that came naturally to her, when she needed to understand the magics that she was using to be able to maximize them and grow them up into something else, something that could be structured. He then made references to dwarven tonal architecture and other things that she didn't quite understand, but he knew she would someday. In time, Sotha Sil would leave the Isle of Artaeum, and he would leave her behind to study with the rest of the Psyjic Order. He told the Psyjics that they had as much to learn from her as she did from them. Now, unfortunately, she did not get along with everyone in the Order. She was a Dark Elf, and they were almost entirely Aldmer. The result is they looked down upon her, something she thought to change. But in order to get away from a couple people whom she felt were rather obnoxious, she liked to spend her time meditating on far-off parts of the Isle. However, the lore keeper of the Psyjic Order had neglected to inform her that the Dreaming Cave on the island was actually a portal to oblivion. And so in the Dreaming Cave, she allowed herself to fall backwards into a state of dreaming, where thought and matter mixed together. And so in her dreams, she saw Sotha Sil in his great clockwork library. And she saw another dark elf in that place as well. She saw a great dragon. She saw a sphere of great power. And most of all, she saw something that appeared to be a god. And when she awoke from the Dreaming Cave, and she stepped outside, the entire Psyjic Order stood around the entrance to the cave. But these were not faces she had seen before. Every single one of them was different. And the best the current lore master of the Psyjic Order could explain is that she was likely dreaming in oblivion for years uncounted. However, a great disturbance of magical energies akin to a Daedra summoning accompanied her return to Mundus. And while meditating, the Psyjics saw a great and terrible vision of the Eye of Magnus. The Thalmor would use the eye to unmake all of creation. And she was in that vision. And so the Psyjics declared in order to prevent this possible future from coming true, they had to lock her up. And so she was placed under the strictest security behind magical wards. They never actually told her the details of the vision or why specifically she was being locked up, and so by the 4th day of captivity, so frustrated she was with not being told what was going on that she decided to teleport through the magical wards. This was at the same time the Psyjics were pooling their powers to scry the College of Winterhold in Skyrim, where they believed their vision was taking place. Something happened when her teleportation spell hit the ward, and she found herself in the exact same spot the Psyjic Order was scrying. Through another ridiculous circumstance, she somehow found herself in Skyrim, exactly where the Psyjic Order did not want her to be. And yet somehow, she knew that this was the place that she saw in her vision when she was in the Dreaming Cave. But who gave her that vision? Was it Sotha Sil? Was it a Daedric prince? She didn't know. However, she knew this was where she meant to be, and as she prepared to join the College of Winterhold, the Psyjics prepared to stand in judgment of her, in judgment of what actions she might take. The first mod we're going to be using today is Skytweak. Not only does it have a mod configuration menu option to increase the damage done by telekinesis, we're going to max that out. It also has an option to reduce the cost of alteration based on your skill. We're going to want to max that out too, so that the reduction is 100% when you have 100 skill. Next, we're going to be doing Psyjic Archmage Robes. You ever wanted Archmage Robes to look like Psyjic Robes? That's what these do. And you want to use the Add Item menu Ultimate Mod Explorer to grab those Psyjic Robes straight out of the mod plugin and put them onto your character. Now, Apocalypse, the magic of Skyrim, is going to add a required spell known as Lodesphere. Now, for adventures, you're going to want to use Spectraverse to battle the Magna G, that is the followers of Magnus. You'll want the World Eater Beater mod by Trainwiz to make the Alduin fight so much better. You'll want Dwemertech, magic of the dwarves, in order to be able to fight the dwarves who have returned. And finally, to go back to Dwarven technology once again, the Wheels of Lull by Trainwiz is quite frankly the conclusion to your character's story, because it brings you back to Sotha Sil, the Clockwork City, except this time on a quest to save the entire world. Now, in order to use that Kinetic Shift teleport, we will be using the Percus Maximus overhaul for this character. The Psyjic Outcast is first and foremost a Dunmer. Using alternate start, live another life, go to the statue of Mara. Go ahead and select new member of a guild, and the College of Winterhold. Now your character is in the correct location. Go to your magic menu under Powers, select the Add Item menu power and use it. This will bring up a list of plugins that you may be using. Find the Space Winking Archmage Enhancement mod. There should be only one item, it's the Psyjic robe. Go ahead and take it from the container and wear it via your inventory. Feel free to swap out your gloves, boots, and hood whenever you feel like. These will be the ways you upgrade your equipment as well as jewelry. Next, type help, and in quotes, focus : space the sphere, close quote. You will get a perk ID code. This perk ID code will be different for each person's installation of Skyrim, meaning you'll have to type your own ID code here. But we type player, add perk, and then the actual code. Once added, your character will gain the Kinetic Shift ability. This is the teleportation spell that this character uses. Next, type help Telekinesis. You should see 3 spells: Dark Telekinesis, Telekinesis, and Scroll of Telekinesis. Go ahead and grab the regular Telekinesis. Using player, add spell, and the appropriate code. Remember again, the code changes, so you'll have to do help yourself. Next, type help load sphere. Once you find the spell, add it. Now there are other alteration spells to look at, such as Tharn's Prison, that you may want to consider, but those are entirely optional. You have all the required spells to play this character. Now hit escape and go to mod configuration. Under Sky Tweaks, select magic and set telekinesis damage to maximum. And if you want to define this character's class better, remember to set the experience rate for your various skills that you won't be using, like one-handed, sneak, two-handed, and so on, to much lower numbers, to where it's very difficult to raise them. Once you've completed this tweak, the character is ready to play. Enjoy. Alright, so the original concept of the Psyjic Outcast actually came from a Fudgemuppet in-joke about Khajiit who collects cups, and that was the idea when they basically ran out of builds to work with. And, you know, that's why they would start introducing mods into their builds, because otherwise you end up with, you just run out of ideas. So what I gathered from that was, well, what if you use telekinesis to knock the cups around? From there, I decided I wanted a character that manipulated gravity or did something with telekinesis to make items deadly. And what I ended up doing is the Psyjic, really. I mean, that's just how the Psyjic ended up getting created. Now, as you notice, I'm running the hell away before I get slashed. Mage armor is in effect, of course, but still, it's a case, it's a lot of running around. Of course, if I use my kinetic teleport, then, you know, they get knocked down, so I can do that. There we go, got him. So, now I can just grab this shield, or I guess this breastplate, and we're gonna smack him with a breastplate. Just a second, bam. Oops. If you're a little too close, it doesn't work, which is why the load sphere just worked out so well for what it did. There we go, perfect. Now that guy's broadsword looks pretty good, so we're gonna pick that up, and then we're gonna drop it. That's the unfortunate thing, is you can't just drop things directly onto the ground or pick them up off the corpse. You kind of have to work around it. Anyway, let's go ahead and take this Dovahkiin helmet here with us. As I was going to say, the basic idea is, I thought about unlimited blade works. Okay, this guy's too close, so we're just gonna knock him down. Okay, knocked him, knocked the other guy down. Mug! You've been mugged. And they got themselves a troll. We'll have an axe troll. Whoops. I said have an axe. It didn't kill the troll. The troll is regenerate. There we go. That's how it's done. So, yeah, I started thinking about unlimited blade works, and unfortunately, even though there was an unlimited blade works spell in the game, I really couldn't reconcile it with the lore. I mean, I'm pretty sure someone could figure something out. Let's, I can't levitate the pheasant. Broom! Okay. Okay, so we got ourselves a woodcutter's axe here. Now, as I was saying, I couldn't reconcile the... Alright, so I got myself a handcart. Unfortunately, my run speed is greatly decreased while I'm carrying this because it weighs 40, but it'll crush pretty much anybody. Now, as I was saying, I couldn't reconcile Shiro's Unlimited Blade Works with the in-game lore. So what I ended up doing is I tried to figure out, okay, so who would manipulate reality most? And it's either got to be some kind of like extreme Daedra worshiper. We're talking about Mankar Cameron, or greater level, you know, just like supreme Daedra prophet. But then I thought about the Psyjic Order and their ability to, you know, manipulate time and space. They're able to move from this Isle of Artaeum to Skyrim in a matter of moments. So yeah, the Psyjics really came to mind with their ability to transport between Skyrim and the Isle of Artaeum instantly. Let's kill him with some cheese. We'll use this cheese wheel of destruction. I know I have the load sphere right there, but why when you can kill him with cheese? Like that. Bam! Cheese! Alright, so we got ourselves a spider. Let's go ahead and introduce the spider to the handcart. That's right, crushed it. Crush the spider into the handcart. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, that mass teleportation concept, the idea is that they know magics that are far beyond us. It made sense to do it that way. But then I thought about it and, well, isn't every Psyjic just a freaking high elf? And yeah, we could do that with pretty much anyone. And I just wanted to construct a character where I could have a dark elf, I could have them connected to Sotha Sil, the whole Clockwork City, you know, pretty much the events that happened earlier in the series. And once again, I'm employing the ridiculous time jumping trope. I doubt I'll be doing that very much more, but I just wanted to have someone completely out of their element, someone from basically the first era, you know. They know nothing about the Empire, you know, the Imperials versus Stormcloaks, the whole thing doesn't make any sense to them. Alright, so bandits like gold, right? Here we go. Whoa, she didn't die. That took care of her. Now, as you notice, you can take ricochet damage off your own load sphere. It isn't too awesome. Now, if you're wondering what happened to the history section, I've separated that off. Now I'm doing a lore series separate. So basically I'm only including history that has to do with the immediate character. And it's a case of I will get to Dunmer, I will get to the Psyjic Order, I will get to all of that in due time in my lore series episodes. But I'm just making the builds for builds now. Again, the lore series for lore episodes and the character builds to be character builds. Now, unfortunately, I killed all the bandits in here already. I can't smack them in the face with a bear trap, although I do know that it will cause extra damage when they do get hit by it. It's kind of funny. Now, if you do want to pick up bear traps, I recommend a mod like Jackson's Positioner. If you have that, say you select the bear trap, so you can pick it up, put it in your inventory. Anyway, if all works out, I'm going to be live streaming this build a little bit more, specifically to finish off the College of Winterhold, and then I'd like to do the mod called Somerset with it. And once I finish Somerset with that, I can do a proper review on the mod. But that won't be for a little while, so expect to very soon see me live streaming Skyrim as the Psyjic Outcast. And that'll be right here on this channel. Now, the next build I create, the Orsinium Outrider, will not require an overhaul, but if you want to use one, I recommend Ordinator. I will be doing more diverse builds. I know I've been doing mostly Percus Maximus up to this point, but I've got an idea for a couple that use Ordinator, one that uses Skyrim Redone, and so on and so forth. So be ready for that, and until then, I'll see y'all next time.